All right, greetings and welcome to the Supply Drop, episode 37, a game podcast created by two very nice people. My name is Nate. I'll be your host. I'm joined by one other co-host today. His name is Scott.
Hello, everybody.
Scott, how much chocolate have you had in the last 24 hours?
Do I have to answer that? Probably 2 small pieces, about the size of a quarter.
Oh, how embarrassing. I can't believe I got that out of you, Scott.
Yeah.
2 small pieces, adult-sized pieces. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, it was 3. I mean, 3? It was 3. It was probably about 5. It was 6. It was probably 6. Yeah.
All right, we're going to move on because that number is going to grow and grow.
Yeah, let's move on.
Yeah. All right. I do want to give listeners an update on Fick. He's in a Colombian jail for the crime he committed a few weeks ago in the Discord. Apparently, it's a dangerous jail. So maybe he'll break out and try to make amends with his 2 co-hosts in a few weeks. But it doesn't sound like he's going to be back next week.
No.
Or perhaps the week after.
The lawyers down there are they're just kind of few and far between. So
a lot of corruption going on.
Yeah.
And before we get started, I want to remind listeners that they can drop us a comment, a question, or an insult at the Supply Drop Podcast YouTube channel. Scott, how was your week?
My week was pretty good. Kind of busy. I'm still in my Diablo depression of
everything. I want to talk to you about this.
Yeah, because everything I play now is like, hey, this is fine. It's not Diablo.
Yeah.
But I did pick up a new game called Dredge. You might have heard about this. Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought I would just go ahead and just get it. You know, everybody's talking about it, and I just wanted to go ahead and get it. So it is a fishing game that's like a Lovecraftian horror story overlaying it.
It's a fishing game?
It's a fishing game.
That's the primary. Yeah.
Yeah, you have a little boat and you go out and you go to areas that have fish and you play this little mini game to get fish, and you get various strange, anomaly type fish. And then you take it back, you get money. But every time you go back into town, they give you like this little story element, and then you got to like deliver stuff, and then you get another little story element. So there's this. It's like, hey, thanks for being here, thanks for fishing, or appreciate. Make sure you get back by dark. Don't get caught in the fog.
Okay.
Have a nice day, And so it kind of unfolds as you bring fish back.
Is it a little like Hades? I kind of enjoyed that, where you had a gameplay segment where you could kind of just be in the gameplay mode, and then it's like as soon as you died, you were introduced to 5 to 10 minutes of story.
Yeah, but it's very brief. It's very just brief, and it's all text. I mean, a character comes up and tells you stuff. And it's kind of like that. It doesn't like interrupt you while you're doing your fishing. So it's like when you go do your fishing, you've got to make money and stuff to upgrade your boat. You want it to go faster. You want to carry more fish. You want to have more things available. You have different, rods and reels and stuff that you can use. And then when you get to certain things, it's a different mini game. Like if it's fish, you have a certain little mini game, and if it's you're dredging for, lost stuff or like a shipwreck or something, so then it has a slightly different mini game. So it does get a little repetitive in that aspect, but I do find that you have to watch the clock, and you have to watch the time, because days are minutes. I mean, your daylight is brief, so you're kind of hustling.
How many minutes? 10 minutes?
I would say probably a little less than that.
Okay.
But it keeps the game going.
Yeah.
At a good pace, and that's what this game really does right, is the pacing of story, gameplay, mechanics, upgrades. It seems to be pacing really well. I haven't finished it yet, but I have been playing a good bit of it. When I get done with it, I'll let you know.
I want to ask you a question about this. So if someone out there, they have not played Dredge. The game's called Dredge, right?
Right.
What gamer is going to love this game? What gamer is going to despise this game? Like,
I think that anybody that likes a good story, without having to without having that over, movie production type, aspect to it.
Right. So it's not annoying.
No, well, it's not you're not playing a movie, right?
Right.
It's an
Right.
indie
Right.
game. It's very small. So,
Yeah.
so anybody that kind of likes that, anybody that likes games where you can play for 10 minutes or you can play for 3 hours,
Okay.
And
Okay.
we talked about 2 weeks ago. We missed last week, but we talked about 2 weeks ago about mobile games, and I couldn't help but think it's like if this was a mobile game, I would be playing this like
Interesting.
right now. Yeah,
Yeah.
it just seems to work that well with the mechanics. You just take your boat to a certain area and you drop your stuff off and you fish and then you get stuff and that kind of thing. But yeah, I'm really enjoying it. It's kind of taken my mind off the game that left me and took all the gaming joy out of my life, and hopefully we'll be back in June. So
what is the drug they give heroin addicts to kind of come off the heroin? Is it not
Diablo
Narcan?
2?
Yeah. Diablo. Okay.
No, that's what is that? Methadone?
Oh, methadone. That's right. That's right. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I need some of that. I need some Diablothone. But yeah.
Wait, so are you transitioning to your withdrawal, or do you want me to jump in that Diablo?
No, go ahead. I'm just wanted to comment on how much I miss it.
So Scott, as you know, I was Diablo. I never really experienced Diablo in my life, right? It was
right.
one Blizzard game I kind of missed, and I do like Blizzard. So I played a druid class, and I remember my build for my druid was like, I'm not gonna worry about the 6 abilities that you can kind of slot in. I'm just gonna like buff the 2, right?
Right.
Dumbest thing, because it's a horrible, unfun build. You're just constantly getting hit, and you're like, oh my gosh, I'm just slapping. It's just a terrible, right? So what you did, and I thought you were a good person at the time for doing this, but now I have reservations on that. You said, Nate, go play druid class, and then I think my brain was just like, okay, then I'm going to try to slot in the abilities. I'll have a suite of abilities to use. Scott, I love that game for...
Oh, Rogue. I played that game. I said Rogue. Yeah.
Yeah, no. What did I say? What did I just say?
Druid.
Oh, okay, yeah. So I started with the druid. I went to Rogue on your suggestion.
Yeah.
I went to Rogue.
And?
I loved it.
Yeah.
I was hooked.
Yeah.
I was hooked. I played that game way too late that night, right before the beta ended, right? Because I'm like, oh, it's going to end. I got to keep playing.
Right.
But here's the deal. About an hour before I eventually quit, here's what's going on in my brain. I go, okay, it's getting late. I should stop. So what I do is I look at my little level meter, and I'm like, oh, I'm almost at like level 18. I might as well get to 18, and then I'll shut down, right? So that makes you play another 5-10 minutes.
Well, yeah.
You get to level 18. You're like, well, I'm halfway through the dungeon. I might as well complete the dungeon. I'm sure the boss is just around the corner.
Yeah, and
right?
You want to get to 20 to get the little sleeping wolf puppy pack.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Scott, that game is nothing. I had a revelation at that, and that game is nothing but just put the carrot 6 minutes in front of the player.
Yeah. But it's so much fun. I mean,
look, it is fun, but the fact that I finally started recognizing it. So here's I still have an issue with the game.
Yeah, well, I've got a couple issues too, but
okay, well, I do want to hear yours because you're certainly more positive than I am. Like these dungeons, you know how like a long time ago I was asking you, like, I don't want to play a co-op game where you're just you're DPSing with your teammates next to you, and you're not super interacting with your teammates.
Right.
In my opinion, Diablo is like, it's just that.
Yeah.
It's like you're just trying to put a bunch of DPS out while hopefully your teammates are doing the same.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So to me, it's just like, it's just like a dopamine drip that you're just like, they just want you hooked on that.
Yeah.
Right. So at this point, I'm uncertain of like if I'm going to keep playing Diablo 4. Now tell me, what with your withdrawal, what are you a little more negative on now? Are you more negative, critical of it?
Well, yeah. I mean, I think I was. If as far as like the necromancer, I thought about it later on that it being very OP, very overpowered, and
right.
I remembered that, and I think I talked about this on the show, where I had a friend that we were playing Diablo 3, and he was like, "Hey, I got this thing. Let's do this thing. you go over here and you do this, and then go to your mailbox, and then take this, and then take this out, and then we did all this stuff, and I wasn't even sure exactly what I did. But then he gave me something. He goes, okay, now put that armor on. And I put that armor on, and I was like 11. I was a level 12 monk. Mm-hmm. It basically made me a level 46.
Oh, right.
So I was like, oh, this is amazing. So what did I do? Of course, I start just, I was not even phased by any enemy.
You're not getting touched. You're not getting touched by enemies,
And it got extremely boring, and it kind of just ruined that whole character for me. Even though the Necromancer is fun to play and abilities, I think that, the scaling on that probably could be a little bit better just to make it more longevity as, through your skill tree and not be so, overpowered. But, and the other thing is just the dungeons. The dungeons are great. I mean, I didn't go into any one of them and thought, oh, this is just, I'm ready to get out of here.
No, wait. When you say they're great, what do you mean by that?
Well, I just mean that the variation in the locations, the things that you're doing in them, the variation of the enemies, those kind of things. I thought all of them were fun, but I was thinking, it's like, is this? How many times am I going to do this dungeon? Like, I know there's an end game, and they're now talking about the end game, and the end game is supposed to be great, but it just starts to make me think, it's like, what are we going to be doing in that end game? Are we going to be going back to every dungeon and just redoing all that stuff again, a la Destiny 2? But so that's not really a problem, because I don't have an answer for that yet, but it is a concern.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But Nate, you're thinking too much. Just stop thinking.
I know,
just go with it. Just click. Just click.
I know. I feel like you're the friend who, like, hey, just try this cocaine. This cocaine's on me, like, don't worry about it.
First one's free, man.
And then 2 weeks later, I'm like, dude, I can't take that cocaine. It's not good. It's not good for you. And you're like, dude, don't worry. Just here. The next one's on me, Scott, I have another issue with it. Okay. As you're talking, I recalled in my brain. So I always tell you I like games with stakes, right? Mm-hmm. I feel like Diablo has no stakes. It's like you die, you get sent back. I guess you get sent back to the start of the dungeon, and then I don't want you to ask any further questions of this, but apparently other Diablo games, there's like 16 difficulty levels, and they let you go up one or up down in a play session, right?
Well, the beta had 2, did it not?
It had 2. Okay.
I think it had 2. Yeah.
Yeah. The reason why I'm bringing that up is because I'm more knowledgeable about another Diablo game. Okay.
Yeah.
So, but I can't stand the fact that, like, if you run up against a difficult section or a difficult boss, the game's just like, oh, dude, you're two clicks away from, like, down tuning the difficulty, and it almost seems like the game wants you to do that.
Yeah, I think it has it does scale, and and that's something that will get tweaked after it's out, and get complaints and whatever. But yeah, I kind of agree. It's like once you level up, you could be leveled up, leveling up in the middle of a fight, and then and then you're up higher than, so then your damage goes up, and But as far as like losing, in previous Diablo games, like Diablo 2, for instance, when you died, you lost gold. Just a little bit. When you start out, it's like, oh, I lost 2 gold. Man, what's 2 gold?
Right.
Well, later, like by Act 2, when you have like 3,500 gold on you, and then you lose, like it would be like 500 or 600 of it, I believe.
Oh, so they.
Yeah, you as you go up, you lose more and more gold. So then, if like
what did they do in Diablo 4?
Well, I don't think they did anything. I don't think anything up to level 25, I think. But that's not to say level 25 and up. Or we basically played Act 1. So once we get into Act 2 and start going into other areas, maybe there's going to be more of a penalty. Yeah. But I haven't really read anything about that. I'm only assuming based on previous titles.
Okay.
But there may be something else that they do that, because they are very good at having that risk and reward, that just constant rollover. Especially when you play with other people, it scales up, and then your reward is better.
Okay.
So And a lot of games, any game that does that now, got that from Diablo. I mean, they looked at how they were doing it, you know.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, and I do want to reiterate to you, like, when I was high on Diablo 4, I was thinking, like, the craziest stuff. I'm like, Blizzard doesn't miss. Like, every Blizzard game I've ever played, I've loved it, right?
Yeah.
Like, I've never, I know they've had some missteps lately and I feel like with their mainline releases, I feel like they haven't really had a misstep.
Yeah.
Kind of with their little mobile game, certain, like, remakes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's just, I guess it's just interesting. Well, I guess we'll see.
Rod Ferguson is the head of Diablo 4.
Gears of War guy.
Yeah, this is the guy that he also came in with at the end of BioShock Infinite. What's the name of that studio? I know it's Ken Levine. I forget the.
Their new studio is Ghost Story Games. What's their Irrational?
Irrational. Yeah. So they were having trouble getting this thing together. So they called in Rod Ferguson. Rod Ferguson comes in and goes, "Okay, what's the problem? Let's fix it."
Yeah.
And that's the guy you call, you know. So, and I think that's what was going on with Diablo 4. Or right after he left the Coalition to go to Blizzard, then we all started getting this, all this just horrible stuff that that was going on. And I think that was part of it. I think they were like, we need somebody to come in from the outside and help us with this. So, and he's on Twitter all the time talking about Diablo. He's out and about. So if he has anything to do with it, his track record is really good. Gears 4, Gears 5, well, that's, debatable depending on who you ask, but I'm a fan of those. So that alone, to me, I feel like it's, it just kind of feels like the old Blizzard. It feels like Blizzard's back,
Right.
They kind of went this way, and they kind of messed up some stuff, and they got a little cocky. They got a little,
as you're telling me this crazy story about Rod Ferguson, I'm thinking to myself, Scott, you're crazy. Because let me tell you why. Diablo 4 is essentially Diablo 3, which is essentially Diablo 2. So
thank God.
How can you mess up like a formula that's so
yes, you
smooth?
can. You can absolutely. And it doesn't take
numbers,
much.
Right?
It doesn't take much. If you look at other games that are like that, if you look at like Path of Exiles, Path of Exiles is a good game. It is a Diablo type game, but it's not Diablo. Anybody that plays it will tell you it's like, this is not Diablo. And some people, there's even like that, I prefer Path of Exiles over Diablo because they're the skill level and the little nuances of it, the little mechanics of it are different enough to know that's like, Diablo is what I want to play. Path of Exiles is okay, or vice versa. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So if you just if you go outside of what Diablo is, then it's just it's just like Path of Exiles, or it's just like this other game, or it's just, I think that beta showed everybody, it's like, no, this is Diablo, it's back. This is what we wanted. I know everybody, there's a lot of people that are complaining about it, but that's just the way.
I do want to ask you about that. I feel from my perspective, everyone on the internet is positive on the beta. Yeah. Now you're saying that you're seeing some negativity around it.
It's just any game, it's just
right.
It's the same thing with like Halo and any game that's been around for a long time. When you make a sequel, it's like, well, this isn't Diablo. If it doesn't have A, B, C, and D, it's not Diablo. Well, it's like, well, it's also 2023. It's not 1996 anymore.
Right. I guess like taking that into account, would you say overall it's been a positive impression?
Yes, I think
from the public?
I think that from the public, and nowadays that is overwhelmingly positive to just get feedback and one after the other saying, this is great. And there's I follow Jez Gordon on Twitter. He's kind of in the same thing. He's like, I don't want to play anything now but Diablo 4. Like just like everything else now, I don't care. Like Starfield, I don't care. Spider-Man, I don't care. I want to play this. So there's people that are kind of feeling that too. It's like, this thing, just release it. It's ready, just release it. And that's something we don't see that much anymore.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I guess what Dave Chappelle, as Rick James says, cocaine is a hell of a drug, right?
Right.
Yeah, so you addicts, you.
Yeah.
All right. All right. Should we move on
Yeah,
from
yeah,
okay.
let's go.
All right. Let's see. Hang on a second. Oh, I do want to say this. So I played Meet Your Maker.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So that's the game where you create a dungeon, you get rated by other players, and then in order to upgrade your dungeon or upgrade your player character, you got to raid and acquire currency.
Right.
I want to say two quick things about that. Scott, I'm in love with this concept of you play the game, you stop playing the game, you come back a day later, and like the game was like living without you. I am nuts about that idea.
Yeah.
Right. So obviously a popular game that's kind of like that, which is super unhealthy and toxic, is Rust.
Yeah.
I feel like Rust, like if you're not playing Rust, someone is raiding your base.
Right.
And that to me is like too much. Like you can't you can't be playing a game 16 hours a day and then
that attracts the worst kind of player.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just that game itself.
It does.
Yeah.
It does. But I do want to say, like, I hope I feel like Meet Your Maker does a healthy version of that, because what you're seeing is just people rating what they do is they auto record players rating your dungeon, and then you kind of see how they're playing.
Yeah.
So then you tweak your dungeon, like, oh, I got to put this guy over here, I got to put this trap like this, whatnot. What's the negative thing? Oh, one negative aspect of this, and Scott, I want to ask you something. So it's somewhat complex when you're making this dungeon, right? It's kind of like Mario Maker in 3D. You got traps, you got bad guys, you got to path your player to its like the core in order for them to get out of it. So you can spend a lot of time in that building mode. Scott, guess how long the developers are like, okay, you made your base, we're gonna pull the base away from you. They literally take your base offline. Guess how long it takes?
What do you mean by take offline? You mean like, to add it to the? So
what happens?
So other people can play it.
Well, no. I'll build a base for like 2 hours, right?
Okay.
And then I'll submit it, and so you can officially.
Right. That's what I'm saying.
Other players can start playing, but then after that point, after you submit it, then the developers are like, okay, we're gonna pull it out of the public queue forever.
What?
Guess how long they give you?
1 day.
All right. So there's like small maps, which is 12 hours they'll give you.
Yeah.
Or large maps, which is 24 hours they'll give you.
Yeah.
Then if you really like your base, you can prestige it, and it costs an insane amount of like resources in order to prestige it, which prestiging means that, if you have a large map that you created that you like, they'll extend it for an extra 24 hours. And that to me is like insane. I'm like, why would I ever? It's like building a sandcastle on the ocean that's like right next to the ocean. You're like, these waves are just going to take the sandcastle away.
Is that a way for them to just have constant content? Just keep rotating maps? That's the idea crazy.
I think the idea is they want you to raid other people's bases, and I think they don't want you to just spend all your time creating this awesome. To me, it's like I'm not interested in the game then if I can't kind of build this
I mean, I'm not interested in making anything in that at all, but I would be interested in playing other people's maps. So I'm guessing if you look at it from that aspect, if you go in and you successfully raid somebody's base or map or whatever, and then you go back to do another one, you're not going to get that one again. They're going to feed you a new one. It's going to be right, and then you come back 2 weeks later and it's not going to be rotating like somebody's like, oh, this is the best one. So, here it is. And Halo Forge is kind of similar to that, because you can get.
Oh, really?
Yeah, if you make a map good enough, it could actually they'll actually pull it and put it in the regular rotation of. Like the showcase, right? Like you click on community maps, and some of them are brilliant. The other stuff, there's so many of them now. I mean, it's just like the more you play them, the more it's like at the top of the list.
Right.
So you could probably play infinitely and just play a different map like every time you play Halo Infinite.
Right.
So I guess that's kind of what they want. They want your experience to be fresh and new every time you go in and play this game. You want it to be something. You don't want to be playing somebody's map that they made 6 months ago when nobody really knew what they were doing. You know?
I guess so. But from my perspective, I'm like, can't you, if you play a map, can't they just put it a super low priority for you to return to it? So like, if I play a map that I really like, I thumbs up it.
Yeah.
Maybe they're like, okay, in 3 months, or 6 months, we'll have the player
Yeah.
replay the same map. Which to me, I'm like, oh, that seems reasonable because in a long enough time, the player's gonna forget most of the map, and then the high quality map is gonna be like high quality again.
But it's
You know,
but it's gone, right?
it's literally, yeah, it's gone.
Yeah.
Now what they do is you send the map into a public queue, which everyone random, and then what they'll pull the map and they'll put it in like your social queue,
Mm-hmm.
which is like, oh, if you have friends, they can go raid your old map. Which I'm
Wow.
like, you know,
Yeah.
so yeah,
That's weird. Yeah.
yeah.
I played
Nah,
the demo of it and it was okay. It's one of those that I think that if well, I'm out of focus. If you go back a couple of months from now and see
mhm,
if it's thriving, it might
right,
be really interesting. But this is something
right,
that they're kind of banking on the players making the content.
right.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know.
And I will say another thing about this, and obviously they're going to tweak it as the game kind of lives.
Hmm.
So one of the things I think right now they have 4 AI guards you can kind of put in your maps. So they'll start you off with 2 of them, and then you want to buy the next 2.
Hmm.
In order just to buy just an AI guard that's pretty basic, I swear you'll have to play that game for way too long. It feels like the currency to purchase upgrades and purchase new things to make your map better is just like, oh, we got to make this grind super long so players don't burn through the content. I don't know. I would
Wow.
say 90 minutes to 2 hours just to buy like a standard AI guard.
Yeah.
That just seems crazy to me.
Yeah.
Um,
I don't know. I don't know if
yeah,
that's how is that sustainable if it's I don't know. One thing that
yeah,
we talked about this last time about games relying on player content, like
right.
Fortnite and that game that um, Besno, or whatever.
Everywhere.
Yeah, everywhere. Uh, but this is a little different. This is like the entire
Yeah,
game is player content. So
yeah,
um,
yeah. We'll see.
yeah, we'll come back to this game and see where it is and let everybody know. It
Yeah,
might not be there anymore. I don't know.
yeah.
Might
All
be
right,
gone.
Scott. Now for real this time, we're really going to move on
Yes, we're gonna move
from this
on.
part. Now, before we kick things off, I want to open up our listener feedback segment.
Yep.
Here is where listeners of the Supply Drop participate in the discussion by going to the Supply Drop Podcast YouTube channel and dropping a question, comment, hot take, or devastating insult. Let's go over to our listener feedback correspondent, Scott, and
Yes.
see what he has for us this week.
We did have a comment for one of our YouTube podcasts, and it
Oh,
was
let's
Promo
have it.
SM, which apparently is promote social media. So this could very
And
well
then,
be a bot.
Scott, did the bot have a name?
The bot had a name. What was his name?
I thought it was Cassidy.
It is Cassidy. Yeah, thanks,
So right
Cassidy.
now, Cassidy the bot is our number one fan or listener, right?
Yeah, who gave us advice, which
Yes,
is
and
what we want. I mean, that's what we ask for.
Yeah,
And I guess maybe YouTube picked up on it and sent out its bot to
right.
tell us
And
to.
as per our agreement, Scott, we
Right.
have to get the first 10 listeners. We have to get their name and their comment tattooed somewhere on our bodies.
Right, right.
So we got 9 more slots opened up on our bodies too.
Well, I got the K done. Were we going to do this professionally or do this ourselves? Because I've just been like carving.
I've just been cutting myself with a knife.
Yeah, same here. I mean, just save money. I got the K. I'm just kind of letting that heal a little bit before I do the A.
Right.
And yeah. So.
Right. Wow, we got dark there. This week's listener feedback segment was brought to you by Sears Department Store. Come see the softer side of Sears. I think there's a lot of potential with that department store.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's great. Up and coming.
Yes, exactly. All right, let's go to the drop, the segment of our podcast where we talk about last week's most intriguing news stories. Scott, what intrigued you most last week?
Well, we did have, as a converted PC player, we did get The Last of Us PC port came out in the last month, and in a just extremely terrible state, apparently. I have not played this myself, but I did watch a couple of videos of what's going on with the game itself, and some of it actually looks nearly as bad as Cyberpunk 2077.
No, really?
Yeah. it's not good. Now, it also does not look as quite as bad as the games media has, splashed all over the internet about it being, just completely unplayable and terrible. They are fixing it. Since it has come out, they have had some patches that has fixed this stuff. But again, this is kind of becoming a thing now where you get a notable console game and it's converted to PC and it's just just launches in just the worst state possible. And it's also not like a new IP or something that has to come out on a certain date or to coincide with a movie or this could have been delayed and fixed and had a much better launch.
I guess they were incentivized to launch it while the HBO show was kind of on people's minds, right?
I would think so, but does it have to be? I think the game's big enough to transcend that. I mean, if you're a gamer, you know The Last of Us. I mean, I played this on PS3. I played it on PS4. I'm not playing it again. I think twice is fine. And but again, they've had some patches, and they even had an apology, which I'll read right now. It was on Twitter. It says, "We know some of you have not experienced the Naughty Dog quality you experience. I'm sorry. Some of you have not experienced the Naughty Dog quality you expected. Our team is working hard to resolve issues currently, preventing some of you from experiencing the game to ensure it reaches the quality level you expect and deserve." Which is fine. I mean, that's great to hear. But it's just kind of crappy. There's a studio that did help out with this, Iron Galaxy Studios, and they also converted Batman Arkham Knight to PC, and that launched in a seemingly equal terrible state.
Oh, really?
Right. So, yeah, that's not good. It's not good for Naughty Dog. It's not good for PC players, and it's not good for the TV show. I would think it's not a good promotion to have something launch at a good state, but. Something is, you don't have to be a PC gamer to to know that waiting for a game to come out, having it launch, and be almost at an unplayable state is just, it's terrible. And I don't know. I can't think of anybody else that does this. I mean, if you could imagine going to the movies of a movie you've been waiting to come out, and in the middle of it, somebody yells cut and they forgot to edit a piece of it out, and they go, okay, what did we do wrong? Okay, we'll try it again. Okay, roll it, and they keep going. And you're like, they didn't edit that out. That's or they have a green screen and they forgot to put the special effects in. I mean, that's kind of what we're looking at with some of these games that are coming out. Some of these ports. It's like there's stuff that's missing, stuff that's not working, it's crashing, it's not, So
let me offer you a rebuttal. Scott, if you are a high-class citizen, you own a PS5. If you are a lower-class citizen, you own a PC, right?
Okay. Well, sure, Nate.
I have to defend,
Thank you.
No, I hear you.
Thank you, Greg Miller.
Oh, did you see that clip? Clip?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
He laid it on a little bit thick. I mean, I know he's making fun of. He's just poking fun at everybody, but
right.
But yeah, it's this is not a title that I plan to play or pick up. But again, it's just I thought they kind of, after Cyberpunk 2077, I thought everybody kind of backed up a little bit and went, we don't want to do that. We don't want to release something in that kind of state. And then here we have this. So, it isn't.
But hang on, Scott. I'm getting a text message from Jim Ryan. He says move off this topic.
Okay.
So he just texted me, let's get to the next topic.
I don't answer to Jim Ryan. But anyway, they are going to fix it. I'm confident that this is going to be, at some point, this will be fixed, just like most every game. They don't want this tarnishment, especially with the TV show. I'm sure Sony's calling somebody at Naughty Dog going, fix this now.
Right. I thought Sony had a bunch of PC port studios, like Nix's.
Yeah.
Maybe one other.
And the Spider-Man port was great. I think Uncharted was fine. Horizons is fine. All these other ones are fine that some of these other support studios help do. And I think Naughty Dog's just we got it.
Yeah.
We'll get Iron Galaxy to help us if we need it, but maybe they should have gotten some more help, or maybe they will now. But yeah, also Steam, if you do have this game and it's in the States, Steam is allowing you to refund the game. I think even if you've gone over the $2 place. Yeah. So, yeah, that's not good.
Remember, if you want to stay in Jim Ryan's good graces, you will not be returning your game on Steam. He wants you to keep that.
Yes,
right?
He does. Yeah.
Yes, he does.
Especially if you bought Call of Duty, because apparently if you get a refund on it, they're going to go broke. According to Jim Ryan.
That's right. God, that couldn't have been the only intriguing news story of the week, though.
Well, this is more of a PSA. It's Twitter blew up about Quantum Break. Remedy's game that came out in 2016, which is an Xbox PC exclusive, which actually just starts Lance Reddick. Put that in there. It's gone off Game Pass. It's gone off Steam. It kind of just disappeared. Everybody kind of flipped out. This is just a licensing thing. It's 2016. When you renew a license, there's a lot of assets in a game, like music or somebody's likeness. That those licenses have to be either renewed or renegotiated. That's why a lot of racing games have been taken off the market, because it has a lot of
car deals, right?
Well, car deals and music. Some of the music deals, if the people that made the music are like, no, that's a terrible deal, I don't want to redo it. Well, then they can't legally have that game. They can't sell it. So that's all this is. Remedy did reach out on Twitter, and they said, "Hey, don't worry, it's just a licensing thing. Kind of ran into a problem. It'll be back soon. So everybody can relax and go play Quantum Break, I guess, when it comes out, if you haven't already."
Yeah.
The TV game.
What a modern problem. What a modern video game problem. I feel like, when we were kids, Scott, this wouldn't have happened.
No, because they didn't license anything. I mean, unless it was a movie license.
It was beeps and boops. It was beeps and boops.
Right.
Yeah.
8-bit.
Yeah.
But that was
all right. So those were the two most intriguing news stories. Well, I'm gonna try to bring listeners back to the podcast by talking about one of the biggest games of 2023. All right.
Wow.
All right.
You're just ruthless this week, aren't you?
We need to start talking about Nintendo. They're kind of a big developer, and they're arguably one of their biggest games. They're arguably their biggest game, Zelda Tears of the Kingdom.
Yep.
So apparently this game's coming out May 12th, so it's a little over a month away.
Yep.
It recently had a 10-minute gameplay trailer presented by Eiji Aonuma.
Yes.
I was close. And he highlighted new features of the game. Apparently its development is officially done, according to him.
Mm-hmm.
So Scott, real quick, he highlighted 4 new abilities that the player will have when you're playing as Link. Mm-hmm. First one is called Recall, and Recall rewinds an object's movement.
Mm-hmm.
Second one is called Fuse, which combines 2 different items to create a new item.
Right.
Link put a rock on a stick to make a dumb-looking sword. You remember the dumb-looking sword? The third ability is called Ultra Hand, which you attach things in the game world. In the trailer, Link fuses tree trunks to create a boat with fan propellers.
Mm-hmm.
And the fourth ability is called Ascend, where Link can teleport through any place with a ceiling.
Yeah. Yeah, that one was really weird. Yeah.
Yeah, Scott, I wanted to get your take. I thought I asked you in the Discord, did this up your hype, maintain your hype, or decrease your hype? And I thought you said maintained your hype.
Yeah. I mean, this is I no longer have a Switch.
Right.
Yeah, and I thought, I thought, well, if anything's going to make me buy a Switch again, it would be this. Mm-hmm. But after watching that, I think those are one thing. But okay, I'm just going to get this out of the way. The durability on these things that you're making and your weapons is still apparently terrible.
Okay, so you had an issue with the durability.
Yes.
Wait, you did. Yeah, okay.
Absolutely. I mean, that was one thing in that game that I had issues with a couple of things, but that one just seemed it just seemed misplaced. I mean, I could understand durability over time. Like a lot of RPGs that you play, you have to repair your weapons or your armor, things like that.
Yeah.
And eventually if you don't, they break. But eventually you're talking about hours and hours and hours. This
Yeah.
is, you pick something up, you pick up a weapon and use it 4 times and it breaks.
Yeah.
I don't know if they've tweaked that or made it a little bit longer, but and it looks like it's probably going to be anything you make or any weapon that you make also has that same kind of,
Right. Now,
durability or lack of.
Scott, I thought someone from Nintendo said they kind of defended the direction with the durability, and they said they wanted players to kind of approach problems like, okay, I can't keep using this one stick, so I need to figure out this solution in a different way. Now, apparently, a lot of players didn't like that, but could you see them being like, okay, I kind of see what your point was with this, but
Well,
you were off of it.
It's anybody that plays RPGs. If you get that weapon, like you pick up that new weapon, and you're like, oh, I like this weapon. This is
Yeah,
this is
you
really
kind of
cool.
want to have it for a while.
Yeah, you want to have it
Yeah.
for a while until what happens? Ooh, look at this weapon. Now I want to use.
Stop
this
thinking like
weapon.
Diablo. Yeah, that's like
But
Diablo.
that's an RPG. I mean, that's the whole point of having that gear and having those weapons is upgrading it or getting something better. This kind of took that choice away from you. When you get something you like, you're like, God, do I even want to use this? Like, use it once. Okay, put it up. I'll use this stick instead. Because you want to keep that as long as possible. And I get that. I get that they want you to kind of think around those aspects. But when you make it a little too out of the context of playing an RPG, then it becomes something else. I like certain weapons, and when I get one, I want to use it, and I don't want to use it 4 times until it breaks.
God, can I tell you? Can I tell you how you can alleviate this problem? You're going to collect a bunch of rocks, and every time you get a weapon, you're going to put a rock on it.
Put a rock on the absolutely.
And it's going to increase your durability, right?
Well, I did like the fuse as far as like taking 2 weapons, putting them together. But it's with having those additional abilities and the additions to the game. I mean, it's almost like is it an open world RPG or is it a puzzle game? It looked, that demonstration, of course they're just demonstrating everything. How this is going to play into the open world is really going to determine if this just becomes something where you're going to go from puzzle to puzzle. Just like they did with, it's an open world RPG. You have things that you do in an RPG. Oh, and then you go into a hole in the ground, and then it's all a puzzle.
Can I offer you a third classification?
Sure.
This is an immersive sim. Like, iron immersive sims are like, okay, you need to get into the nightclub. You can get into the nightclub 4 different ways.
Right. Like,
don't
Hitman.
You feel like Link's? Yeah. Don't you think Link is going to have to cross a river and he's going to have 4 different ways to cross it?
Yeah.
Like, is he going to glide over it? Is he going to boat over it?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, and I think that's great. I've said before that I like games that don't go, your Link's not going, hey, I should probably get across that river. Oh, right. Hey, I might can use that tree. Hey, I bet if I chop that tree.
Aloy, are you listening?
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
So, Nintendo's, I'm sure they're just laughing at that. But yeah, and I like that. I like that creativity to it. I'm just not sure if it's, for me, and I'm only speaking for me, I'm not sure if it's something that seeing that makes me think, oh, I can't wait to get in this world and start creating all this crazy stuff.
Yeah.
I don't think that that's what I want out of a Zelda game.
Okay, interesting.
Not that it makes it worse or better. Just for me,
personal preference.
Just personal preference. Yeah, I think a lot of people are going to dig it.
Scott, one question before we, I always say we're going to move off. We're not going to move off. Scott, Breath of the Wild got a 96 Open Critic score.
Yeah.
We want your Open Critic prediction right here.
For this one, just from kind of what I'm feeling on the internet, I'm gonna say it's gonna be a 94.
Okay, I think I was kind of headed at a 94 as well.
Yeah, I don't think it'll reach or exceed, because it does look like DLC. It doesn't look like a new game.
No.
Yeah.
Is this a shoe-in to win the Keeley's Game of the Year?
Possibly, yeah. Yeah.
A 94 is beatable, though. I
It
feel like
is.
a 94 right now. I feel like those game awards, they kind of they reward like games that are kind of the hot thing at the moment, right?
Hmm.
So once this game comes out in a month, it's going to be hot for 2 or 3 months, and then maybe Starfield comes out. No, granted, I think when's Starfield coming out?
June.
Okay, so not that much after.
No, it's not June. I'm sorry. That's the old date. The new date is September.
Okay, so September,
Yeah.
which was right. That's honeymoon period, right? Maybe they're
Hmm.
voting in October or something.
Hmm.
So I could see Starfield getting a 92 and people loving Starfield and being like, Starfield's the game of the year.
Yeah, I think the cutoff is like November 20 something. I
Oh,
think
it
it's
is.
like, yeah, I think it's like right after Thanksgiving.
So it is in November.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which is kind of odd because, you do have games that come out, big titles that come
Right.
out,
Yeah.
late November, early December. But,
Right.
and, well, last year, who won Elden Ring? Elden Ring won Game of the Year last
Yeah.
year, and it came out in February.
Right.
So,
Right.
yeah, this is probably, I'm going to say right now, what is
It's
this,
front runner.
April? Yeah,
Mhm.
it's a front runner, probably tied with Resident Evil 4 remake. I think that's probably a contender.
That's a nice segue right there because that's our next topic.
Okay, let's go into
Okay.
it.
So the Resident Evil 4 remake has officially sold 4 million copies according to Capcom. It's the second fastest selling Resident Evil game of all time. It scored a 92 on OpenCritic, and it released on March 24th. I wanted to ask you, Scott, is 4 million all that much? I always hear, look, before you answer, I always feel like they announce these sales figures right as they're noticing the drop off in
Yeah,
sales,
yeah,
right?
yeah. Because they don't
So,
want to they don't want to say it 6 months later and go, oh wow,
oh, it's still at like 4.2 million or
Yeah,
4. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. So is this a success, or do you feel like maybe people are cooling on Resident Evil? Now,
I,
granted, they did say it's the second fastest selling Resident Evil of all time.
right, right. But fastest selling doesn't necessarily mean successful. It's
Well,
got
for
it's
Resident Evil,
yeah, it's got to
for
make
Resident Evil, it does.
it's got to
Oh,
make money, right?
yeah, I see what you're saying.
You
Yeah,
know, um,
yeah,
I don't know. I think that since they've added microtransactions, it's people are still
Oh,
going
did
to
they?
talk about it. Yeah, they've added some microtransactions, so you could pay like $4 or $5 and upgrade your weapons in the game. So they're, of course, they waited until all the reviews went in.
I know,
and then
right?
started. Yeah, so they're getting a little smarter about that.
Gamers are the worst.
Yeah. But as far as like 4 million copies, what did Jeff Grubb say? It's like you have to sell like 10 million copies for it to even be profitable.
Well,
This is
I
a
don't.
remake though. I mean, is that
Yeah,
it's not, and they didn't make this from the ground up like they did Dead Space. Am I right?
right.
Yeah.
I wish we had a Nintendo expert that wasn't in the Colombian jail right
I
now.
know, right? That would be really
Yeah,
helpful.
yeah.
But it is, God, I have not heard anybody say anything bad about it. And that's almost kind of like it was back when it was released. It just seemed like
Yeah.
everybody talked about it. So,
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like I may have to play it. Just because,
Oh, really?
yeah. Probably not right now, but I think when that peers like after June, right before September,
That little lull.
that little lull, that's when I'll play
Mhm.
Resident Evil 4, and I'll give it a good shot because, like I said, I've never really played any length of it. I played a little bit of it on pretty much everything, but I haven't played
Yeah.
it in length. So
I
guess
I
should
thought
give
I
it
listened
shot.
to a podcast this week, and I thought they said that the tone, which I think you're going to be excited about, it got darker.
Yeah.
So it's not as goofy. You don't like the goofy, right?
I don't mind the little bit of goofy when it's
Mhm.
meant to be goofy. Sometimes it's with Resident Evil, it's like that's really goofy, but I don't think they meant that to be goofy.
Oh,
But then the
okay,
next
okay,
one is
like
like,
that,
okay,
yeah.
that's goofy. That's obviously goofy,
They meant it, yeah.
right?
Okay.
When they Resident Evil 7 didn't really have any of that. It was kind of like on a super serious level, like all the way through.
Yeah.
And then with Resident Evil 8 Village, there were a couple of parts where they seemed to just kind of have fun with it.
Right.
And when especially with the characters were just more fun and varied than,
Yeah.
in 7. And that's what I liked about it. I liked the enemies and just some of the other characters that you run into. And I like the setting way better. I like, Romania castles much better than, anything in Louisiana. But, and same thing with this. This kind of has the same feel. So if they made that a little bit more like in between Resident Evil 7, Resident Evil 8, I think that would be the perfect tone.
You might be liking this game. You might be liking it, Scott.
I might. I have to try it out. It just, playing the demo. I played the demo, and then I played it on somebody's GameCube, and then I played it again. I think when it was on, I think I got it on PS4 or a demo.
So you've
on
sampled
PS4.
it numerous times.
I've sampled it numerous times, and I just, it just didn't grab me. But maybe I should just give it a try.
Scott, this is a real small tangent, but I went to a frozen yogurt spot. You know those frozen yogurts where you can like get samples, you can put the yogurt in a dish, and then they weigh it. They usually weigh it.
Yeah.
This one, they just sold you the cup for I think it was $6.99 for the smallest cup, and they say load it to your heart's content.
Ooh. Okay.
God, that's insane. $6.99.
Yeah.
Like I guess it was a bad tangent, but it just. You walk out
how big
there
is
spending,
the bowl?
Well,
Right?
first of all, how much can you how much frozen yogurt and toppings can you fit in your stomach to where like at a certain point law of diminishing returns, right? Like, okay, I've eaten 2 pounds of this frozen yogurt. I gotta get my money's worth, right?
You gotta eat as much as you think $6.99 worth of frozen yogurt is. Right. I see what you're saying.
That's a lot,
right. Yeah. So and then you just throw up in the parking lot.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. So where are you going with this? I mean, what?
For some reason, you had one word that triggered my mind into the frozen yogurt. I don't remember what that word was. So we're gonna shift back to video games. Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
Let's shift back to video games. And my favorite segment is the rumor mill.
Okay.
Rank the rumor mill. Do you like the rumor mill?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, what is gaming without rumors?
Gaming with rumors is everything. I'm with you.
Yeah.
Rumor number 1. First of all, according to Jeff Grubb, Sony has a streaming handheld in the pipeline. However, according to Tom Henderson, it's not a streaming handheld. It's a remote play handheld. It's codenamed the Q Lite, and apparently it requires players to own a PS5 in order to work. It will require a constant internet connection. Scott, how many of these are you buying? I mean, you don't currently have a PS5,
no.
So probably not.
Probably zero.
That many.
Yeah, probably zero.
You're gonna be.
Yeah.
Scott, is this a smart idea for Sony? People aren't.
If this is true, this sounds terrible. This sounds like a terrible use of resources altogether. Why do you need this? I mean, what? Okay, so first, I had the Vita. Did you have a Vita?
I did, yeah.
I loved it. I loved because I could sit. I could lay in bed and play my PS4 games on my Vita. That's who
you're targeting. They're targeting you.
Right. From the living room. Okay.
Right.
But if that was the only purpose of that, I would have never gotten one. What I wanted is I wanted to play the games that were on the Vita. Or the promise of the games. Shortly after I bought one, Sony was like, we're not doing that anymore. So
Right.
Yeah, they just pulled the plug on the whole thing. Thanks.
Yeah.
Which is another reason I don't think their VR is a good idea. If that's what this is, okay, I guess you're going to be able to stream your PS5 outside the house as long as you have an internet connection.
So, do we think that's the case?
That's what it sounds like. If it only streams from your PS5 and it requires an online connection, then why can't you just do that with your phone?
I don't get it.
I mean, who is this for? Is it really just for the people that are just bleed blue and just have everything PlayStation, don't even think about anything else, and everything that they put out, they have to have it? That market can't be enough to sustain a new product, can it?
Wait a second. So you bought the PS Vita.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like, did you have a PlayStation at the time?
Yeah, I had a PS4. Did. Yeah, that was my main console.
So I guess my question is, okay, if you have a PS5 and if the experience is like high quality, like let's say it's one of the best streaming gaming experiences,
Yeah.
then my brain thinks like, oh, this is a smart device. But
Right.
do you not see that? Do you not appreciate that?
No. Why would I need that?
I think you would need it because what it's doing is it's saying like, oh, you look at the little Steam Deck, like the little low-powered
Right.
PC handheld. Like
Right.
we have a PS5 in your hands.
But
Like
you
this
don't.
is no, you essentially do it as long as you have an internet connection.
Right.
So I
But
think of all the places I go to,
yeah.
the internet is everywhere, Scott. Now, granted, is good internet everywhere? Not really.
Mm-mm.
Ah,
I will say this.
mhm.
And this is old technology. This was years ago, but with the Vita, streaming on my router with my PS4 in the other room, there was lag. There was noticeable lag.
Okay.
I mean, it was doable. It's not something where you would want to play, Killzone online with, right? But you could play single player, just fine, and you could play
A turn-based RPG, yeah.
Dragon Age and all that stuff. That's what I played on it. You can do that just fine, but that's in my house. So if you're saying if I go somewhere like to a coffee shop and I'm streaming my PS5 from my house, yeah, that's just not. It's not going to be a good experience.
All right.
What the Steam Deck does is it is actually a PC. It's playing the games on the Steam Deck, and it gives you the option to stream.
All right, so my question to you is this though. Let's say there's wizards at PlayStation. Let's just say like the people who purchase and play this thing are like, this is the highest quality streaming thing we've ever done. It's like a step above Luna. It's a step above Google Stadia. It's like you can't notice the difference. Then at that point, is it viable for you?
No, it can't be. It can't be better than those services because you are relying on two things. You're relying on the internet connection where you are, and you're relying on the internet connection at your house, which is not going to be something that it's going to pump enough information to you to play something on par with the service that is using multiple locations, multiple servers, that is made for that. I don't think either one of them are right. If they're working on a handheld, it's probably something a little bit in between, or something that is going to be able to do something locally on that, or it's a rumor and they're not doing anything at all.
Right.
I don't know why they would make a handheld. Period. I mean,
it doesn't sound like it's going to be. It's not going to be a successor to the Vita. Like they're not going to be having 10% of their studios making exclusive games for it, right? No. So I guess for me, this is a wait and see because I want to. The smart, I do believe you that it's not going to be a great experience, but I reserve 10% of my brain being like, we'll see. I'll give them the.
Well, I mean, they've got to have something. They've got to be confident enough in something to release something like that, right?
Right.
I mean, it can't be. And I don't know why. I know everybody's starting to make handhelds. Razer's got one. Asus just announced theirs, which is absolute. It's like twice the speed of a Steam Deck.
It's a beast,
yeah. And then Logitech has one, which is a streaming only. And from what I hear, Game Pass playing xCloud games on that is fairly good. So I mean, I could see with that, but if it's something to where they are introducing a new service, much like xCloud, to where you can play your games, it's just you're playing the games from their server with your save game, just like xCloud.
Right.
That would make more sense. But they don't have the infrastructure for that. They rely on Microsoft's Azure servers to do a lot of the streaming stuff they do currently.
Right.
So, I don't know. It just doesn't.
Well, your opinion is not alone. It feels like everyone on the internet is in your boat.
Kind of like what are they doing? I mean, if they're gonna make something, make a smaller PS5.
Yeah.
I mean, good grief, that's what everybody wants. I mean, even the hardest PS5 fan would probably trade theirs in a heartbeat to get something sleeker and smaller and cooler, and not take up half their living room. So
Right.
There's your opportunity right there.
Well, I guess, what did he say? He said that it's planned to release before the PS5 Pro, which we'll talk about later, and after the PS5 disc drive, like the optional disc drive PS5 one. That's supposed to be coming out. Yeah. So we'll see. But right now, let's go to rumor number 2.
Yep.
According to Bloomberg, Saudi Arabia is investing $38 billion to become a, quote, gaming hub. Quote, after focusing initially on the esports industry, which has been struggling, the fund's subsidiary, Savvy Gaming Group, is now looking to develop, publish, and acquire a games and support a games industry. I don't know how to say that. Riyadh. Apparently, it's a place in Saudi Arabia.
Mm-hmm.
I thought this was interesting. Because I kind of think gaming is a smart investment at this point, and it sounds like they're pushing a lot of their chips in on this particular industry.
Yeah.
Is this something that I feel like gamers should be excited about? If you're strictly focused on like getting more high quality games, right?
Yeah, but it's almost like I mean, Saudi Arabia is not. They don't have a good reputation for being a I don't know, liking Americans. As far
they
as
certainly like money. They like money.
They like money, right?
Right.
So I don't know. I mean, it's. I guess for me, I don't really care. I mean, it's a country that's wanting to invest in.
Yeah.
They just want to make money out of it, and that but I don't know. I would have to do some research on it to get a solid, impression and opinion of it. But if it does help, if it helps developers get money, I know Ubisoft has taken money from them. They've invested in Ubisoft. I think they invested in somebody else recently, and they just want a return on it. It's kind of like the same thing Tencent's doing. They're there for a little bit. They were just like handing out money to everybody. It's like, it just kind of puts money into the hands of the developers and the publishers to make more games and to make, more money, and to, that is healthy for the industry, for the gaming industry as a whole. So I guess looking at it right now, I don't think it's necessarily, I think it's probably a good thing.
Yeah.
Unless I find out something sinister.
I know, and that's probably coming down the pipeline, or it might be. But you know how every once in a while I'm like, oh, that was the lamest rumor ever, because this game that is rumored to just announce it's going to come out in like 13 years.
Right.
That now this is even worse, because this is just like, oh, we're planning on like, this is like 20 years down the road. Things are going to happen,
It's kind of like hearing like, oh, I'm leaving so-and-so, everybody. I'm starting my own studio. I'll see you in 10 years.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Exactly. Yeah. So I apologize for wasting everyone's time, including you, Scott. I apologize for that.
Don't worry about it.
But I want to get to our juiciest rumor. I love this rumor.
Yeah.
So let's get to rumor number 3, our final rumor. According to the latest episode of the Xbox 2 podcast, Jez Corden dropped a few more tidbits about Blizzard's upcoming survival games. Here they are. The title is apparently officially called Odyssey. Jez thinks it's going to be multi-platform, though though that isn't based on anything he's heard. Mm-hmm. It's not super graphically intensive, very Overwatchy. Okay. He expects it to run very well on the Series S, and apparently this is not the current leak, but I've read from other sources that it's the 2 most similar games to this are Valheim and Ark. So that's kind of the direction they're kind of going. Okay. Now, I do you have any experience with Ark?
Yeah, I've played it.
I know Oh, you have played. So Jez Corden has. I know he's I think the most reliable of the leakers regarding this one.
Right.
He says it's like Ark. Now, Scott, in my head, I always clump Ark and Rust together, right? But it seems like Ark is more PvE focused. So I want to ask you, if I'm playing Ark, I constantly want to just attack other humans. How is it PvE focused rather than PvP focused? Do you remember your experience playing it?
Yeah, I did. I played it with a friend of mine not long after it came out. So it was still kind of rough.
It was a long time ago.
But we and he knew way more about it than I did. But we made a base on a beach, and we got all this stuff together. And over about a week, we had some dinosaurs that we were, taming or whatever. And we came home from work one day, and there was a guy that was building a base, like just over just like right within sight of ours, right?
I love this story, Scott. So continue.
So
I'm
we're
listening.
And then it's like, okay, so he's building something right there. He hasn't messed with anything of ours. But why is he so close? Right. So so then a day went by, and we're like, who's kind of, like, what is this guy's intention? And then he sends me a message like late at night. He's like, we need to take this guy out.
Okay, right.
Yeah, so I was like, okay, so we got him. He's just like, devastated his base, And
as
then
you should.
Yeah,
as you should.
Right. And I mean, and you can do that because it's PvE, PvE, whatever. So it's like we were so concerned about this guy and what he was doing, what he was building, so close to us that we just just wrecked it,
Right. Did you feel bad after that? Did you feel bad?
No.
No. Okay.
Until 2 days later,
Scott is a sociopath. Everyone.
We logged on, and the guy he was just rebuilding his base.
Yeah.
And I thought it was like maybe he thought there's no way that those guys over there did it because they're like right there. No, but so I'm gonna rebuild it right here.
See you? Is there a chance?
No, he wasn't. He wasn't there. I mean, when you're logged off, you're not there.
Yeah, but when he started building his second base,
he had to see us. Yeah, I mean, he had to. Yeah, our base was huge. Okay. So then we were just like, we just like left him alone. We just was like, I kind of feel bad, and then after that, he just, I think he built a little bit more, and I don't know, he just logged off, and then I don't know, I kind of got bored with it and left. Okay. But with that, it seemed to be. I've never played Rust, but I've watched people play Rust, and I've watched people like.
Rust is nothing but what you just talked about.
Oh my God! People like logging in and like, okay, we're gonna play Rust today. Oh my God, my base is complete, and them just like you see them like die inside, like they just break,
Scott, the greatest thing about Rust is apparently these clans, they take it real seriously. They organize and they say, okay, tonight everyone's waking up at 3 a.m. because our competitors, we're in a server where everyone's going to be sleeping.
Right.
All 8 of us are going to go and destroy the other base that's right next door while they're sleeping, which is just phenomenal.
Yeah, I don't know why. I don't know. I mean, so it was just kind of, it felt like Lord of the Flies, right? It's like that guy's going to do something. He's going to take out our base. We got to do something first, right? That guy probably had no intention of doing that at all. He was just like, hey, maybe I'm going to make my base like this guy. He might have been a 6-year-old, it's like, oh, look. But so with that kind of turned me off to that whole thing. And the game was still kind of in a really janky state. I've played it again since then in a much better state. But to me, it's... I don't want Blizzard to make a game like Ark.
Oh my gosh.
I don't. I want them to make something... If they're saying it's like two different games that are already established and already popular and already out, then that makes me think that Blizzard is not innovating. They're not...
Oh, Scott, you are way too smart to be saying this right now, okay? Let me explain.
Okay.
Blizzard, their MO throughout their 30-year history is we're going to look at a formula that other inferior companies are doing, and we're going to make a better version of it. We're going to polish it, production values. We're going to design it better. In my opinion, this concept, like when you see Ark, especially if you see Ark on console, Ark on console it just looks like two people made it in there.
It looks like an indie title that,
Yeah, and then Rust, I know Rust is kind of similar in terms of, certainly on console looks terrible. I feel like this is the perfect genre to take a formula and improve it and kind of introduce it to the masses.
Well, right. If you're improving it and making something new out of it, but I would hate to think that it would be. And of course, it's just a rumor. But when I heard they were making a survival game, I was just hoping it was going to be something something fresh and new. And maybe it will be, but Valheim, I think, is a much better game than Ark. And a much better studio. I know Ark, which is not a rumor, they are shutting down Ark, and then you have to buy the new version to play the old version.
Yeah, that's right.
Anyway.
Yeah. And Ark 2 got delayed into next year.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's, I don't know. This makes me a little less excited about it.
Really?
Even though it's just a rumor.
What if he was wrong? It wasn't Ark. It was a Valheim. Would you then perk back up?
Maybe a little bit. I think Valheim is a much better game. I had more fun playing Valheim than I did Ark. Ark was, it's just a little goofy and a little a little janky. Valheim, even in its I think worst state, was better than Ark in its best state. Yeah.
Okay. So it sounds to me like you don't like the idea of having potential enemies in the game world with you. You kind of want a server on your own where you can kind of interact with that at your own pace. Is that true?
Yeah, for me, yeah. I would rather just it be like a cooperative experience. I think a survival game on its own with the PvP or PvE aspects of it is it's fine for me, and it's that I'm okay with that.
Okay.
Yeah, like if anybody's played DayZ, you know, I mean, one experience I had with DayZ is, and it's PvPe, you know, I heard some guys talking, so I ran in a building, and then I heard one of them go, "Oh, some dude just ran in that building."
Yeah, right.
And I was like, "What do you want to do?" And another guy was like, "Well, let's kill him." Like, well, another guy was kind of like, you know, he was like, "Well, did he have anything? He's like, no, he looked like a new player. He looked like he just started." Well, let's just leave him alone. He goes, no, we should kill him.
Let's go kill him.
Yeah. So then I was like, okay, there's a window.
Did you say anything back?
No, I was trying to be as quiet as possible. So I opened the window and I walked out, and then I ran and okay, so they were like on the opposite side of this building. So when I ran out the window, it was like, I don't know how they got over there so quick, but they were just waiting for me. You know, it's like, he's going to come out this window. So they're like, "Hey, what's up?" And I'm like, "Hey, so I guess you guys are going to shoot me and take all my stuff." And they were like, "Yep." You know, and then they just took all my stuff. And I'm like, that's...
Now, Scott, let me propose to you a scenario. Let's say me, you, and, you know, again, if Thick escapes the Colombian jail, let's say three of us are playing that game. What if we do that to a solo player out there? Is that now fun for you?
No.
If you're the bad.
It's not really. No. It's not really that fun. It's for a game like that. I mean, it is a survival game. Your objective is. It's not like PUBG, and it's not like Tarkov. You know, you're not oh, that guy might have some really good stuff. You're surviving.
Well, to a certain extent, it is, right?
Well, to a certain extent. I mean, if you see a guy carrying, like, you know, weapons and has all this stuff, you know, that is your survival. It's like, if you don't have anything and you have a gun and they don't see you, then if you could take them out, you probably are. Yeah. But just these guys didn't need anything I had. They didn't. I had, like, I don't know, an empty can and an old tomato or something. You know, I mean, it was like, I don't even think I had socks. You know, and they could tell that when I went, and, you know, they were like, "This guy doesn't have anything. Well, we're going to shoot him anyway."
Right.
Yeah. So instead of, like, you would think, and this is what this gives me no hope for mankind. If we're ever in a zombie apocalypse, I think this is exactly how people will be. You know, instead of them going, "Hey guy, hey man, you need anything, or you know, you want to go with us," or you know, they're like, I think he might have an old tomato on him. Let's shoot him for it. You right?
Yeah.
So I don't know. It just kind of.
So, Scott, let me kind of boost this concept up a little bit, and I just want to see if I can change your thinking on this at all.
Yeah.
I understand what you mean. Like, the game is just it's just so hardcore PvP.
Right.
Like, players just are attacking other players nonstop.
Right.
But I always think, like, you know, think like a game designer. How would a game designer de-incentivize a little bit doing what happened to you in that game? And I think there's ways to do it. I think there's a way to do, like, bounty systems. Like, if you kill a player, you're going to get a star attached, and other police players are going to hunt you down, right? Or bounty hunters
Yeah,
are going to hunt you down.
like the Dark Zone and Division.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, but I think with regards to like these giant open world games that are like, oh, it's going to take you forever to cross the map, I
Right.
think that could be more interesting, right?
Yeah.
But I think you need to see it in order to believe it, right?
Yeah, I think it's just how you want to play those kind of games, and if you want to play those kind of games. I ultimately realized this, like, I would rather play a survival game where the worst enemy in the game is me. Like my poor decisions will get me killed, right?
Yeah.
And there's other games that are like that. Outward is a good is a game
I still have to jump into that.
That is one that you're not playing other people. You can play with other people. You can play cooperatively, but one mistake can cost you, your life. Not even immediately, It might be something like, oh, great. Well, in about 10 minutes, I'm going to die, Those are the survival games that I like. Valheim is like that. It's, you can flourish or you can fail, but it's all based on you. It's not because some jerk just came by and went, hey, what's up? I think I'll just torture your entire, for no reason whatsoever, only because I can, So that to me is, it doesn't make me, I mean, it's like, if that's how you want to play the game, or if that's the kind of game you want to play, that's cool. I just don't want to play that.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, so I need you to respond to this segment. So let's say Overwatch let's just right now say a DayZ-esque game, right?
Right.
Where they say this giant square mile, you're in a high police state area, which really punishes players for PvPing you. So what that means is you can kind of build your character, collect your resources, where you have pretty low probability of getting ganked by other players.
Right.
Then does that kind of like, oh, if I just stay in this safe area, does that kind of be is that interesting to you at all?
No.
It is not. It is not.
No, because
outside of that.
Well, I just think it takes away what I think there would be better incentives to help each other or help other people as opposed to attacking them. Not necessarily just a hey, you're in trouble, you're tagged, or you're, it's I just think that there's better ways to do that.
Right.
Just like you would, in real life. If you've got oranges and somebody's, got glasses, you can make orange juice, but you got to work together,
Yeah. Scott, real quick, there's a tomb. There's a mysterious tomb out in the woods. The only way to access the tomb is if there's 3 handprints on these rocks.
Right.
So a solo player that wants to gank everyone is going to find the tomb, and he's going to say, I got to kind of get 2 allies to open up that tomb, and then maybe I can gank them in the tomb.
Right.
And then maybe as you're walking to the tomb, maybe it's like 10 minutes away, you kind of click with the person, and he's like, okay, I was going to kill you, but we're kind of getting along, so maybe we can shift to, maybe we're going to be a long-time alliances.
Yeah.
I just think there's so many ways to kind of curb player behavior that...
Yeah, there's, in the, playing Division 1 in the Dark Zone, you kind of run across people that are like that are like, hey, don't shoot. I'm just, grabbing stuff. You guys gonna shoot me? It's like, okay, no, we're good. We're good.
Oh, okay.
So can you guys help me with this thing? It's like, yeah,
oh, really?
we'll help you. Yeah, we'll go do it. Yeah, and then,
okay.
And then you help them, and then they throw a grenade,
and then they gank you.
Yeah, then they just kill you. And they're like, haha, So the trust level in that type of game goes to -5, right?
Okay.
Right. And we've had situations, we've used to play the Dark Zone a lot, but we've run into situations where somebody was, they were just like, hey, I got some stuff, I need to get out with it, Are you guys going to kill me or can you help me? And we've helped them,
Yeah.
And then...
and then what happens?
Well, somebody in our group decides right before he leaves, just, takes all his stuff. And I'm like, man.
Yeah, okay.
It's like, I thought you guys were just like, well, we agreed to it, but he didn't,
Right.
So it's always, but that's what makes it does make it fun for people, because there's always that element of surprise that you don't know what that other player is going to do. And when you add that to any kind of game, it does make it more interesting for most players. I'm just personally getting to where I just don't I don't trust anybody to do
You're not
that.
interested. Yeah. All right. So I guess I called you a sociopath earlier in the podcast. It sounds like maybe you're the opposite of a sociopath. You have a high degree of empathy for other players, right?
I think yeah, at this point I do.
Okay.
Yeah. I would be the one that would, get killed because I'm like, yeah, sure, I'll help you carry that stuff to,
Right.
and then just, rage quit. So
Right. I real quick, I do remember a time in DayZ where I think I played the game for like 20 minutes. I got like a couple of things, and you're like, oh, I have a backpack, I have a gun, and I have a crowbar, and then I run up to a player with no clothes on, and he punches me to death because I can't aim or hit him with a crowbar. And yeah, and I do remember thinking like at the time like that was the coolest interaction ever. It was like I was in the movie.
Yeah,
I was the idiot who trusted the crazy person with no clothes on. Right,
and everybody's watching it going, "Don't trust that guy. Why is he doing that?"
Yeah, it's like you're watching a horror movie where you're telling the characters.
Right. Yeah, some of the best experiences, games like that. I do love games like that. That when somebody says, State of Decay 2 is another one. It's like it's got no story. I don't like it because it doesn't have a story.
But it does have a story.
It does have a story. I can tell you many stories of my situation of this happened and this happened and this happened.
Yeah.
You make your own stories with those kind of games. And that's what makes them the simulation, like you were talking about earlier. That's what makes them fun.
Right.
But those you don't really have to have somebody that just comes along and kills you to do that.
Okay. All right. Let's move into our final segment of the podcast.
Is that all the rumors? Oh,
what's that?
Is that all the rumors?
Yeah, only 3 rumors this week, unless you can think of a fourth off the top of your head. Was there a big one?
Seems like there was a big one, but okay, we'll wait till next week.
All right. This segment of the podcast is called Amorphous Blob Talk for Amorphous Blob Ideas from Amorphous Blob. I didn't have a lot of time, so a lot of typos in my little thing here. The idea is we don't know how big this talk is going to be. It could be small talk, could be a big talk, could be medium talk.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Scott, you start us off, though.
Well, there's rumors. I guess we could throw this in the rumors as well.
Tommy H.
Yep, Tommy H. Which his are a lot of his stuff turns out to be pretty correct, but there's going to be a PlayStation 5 Pro seemingly launching next holiday season, 2024. Microsoft has not. We haven't heard rumors from them. They haven't announced anything. And do we need a refresh? The one thing that we got last generation, we got a PS4 Pro and we got the Xbox One X.
Yeah.
Which was at the time the fastest console ever made. Because I think that Microsoft had to flex a little bit because the Xbox One was notably weaker than the PS4 at launch, as far as performance and frame rates and whatever.
Yeah.
So they made one that was 4K, 60 frames per second, or most games, and that was only 3 years before they launched a whole new generation of consoles. So. Personally, I not really a console player anymore, but I think they're not necessarily a good thing. But I also can see that maybe with console generations we need it, because, and we've said this before, games don't leap like they used to. That going from that PS1 to that PS2, we're not seeing that generational gap anymore. We're not seeing that. Oh my God, I can't believe what I'm seeing on the screen right now. PlayStation is they still want that, but they're not getting that. And it's just not possible with modern hardware to get it. Xbox is more like, hey, you can play your old titles or your current titles faster. So, everything kind of goes with you, which I think is great. But I don't know if what Microsoft's doing. And also, Nintendo there's been a rumor for a Switch Pro forever. Since shortly after it came out. And I don't think they have plans to to make a Switch Pro in its current state, right? This is where we need
he who shall not be named.
Yeah, or prison mate. But I think it's I think it's a little too early. I think it's a good thing. I just think it's too early. I think maybe 2025 you could go up a little bit and have that new phone kind of product and have a good performance jump at a good cost. Because I think if you launch this thing too early, what is this thing going to cost? If it comes out in 2024, is it going to be $699? Is it going to be $799? It could easily be $799.
No, it cannot be $799. No way PlayStation announces a console for $800.
I wouldn't put it past them.
Jim Ryan's too smart. He's too smart of a leader.
But what do you think? I mean, do you think this is a good thing, or would you rather just see like the PS6 and the Xbox whatever in say 3 more years?
I guess I look at it like, Toyota, the car company, owns Lexus. Mm-hmm. So, the smart purchase, if you're looking for a car, is a Toyota Camry, because it's good gas mileage, good reliability, high resale value, yada, yada, yada.
Right.
Lexus has their fancier version of the Toyota Camry. I can't remember what it's called, but it looks just like the Toyota Camry, but the interior is nicer. It's got a little turbocharger. It's just a better version of it.
Right.
It's not as practical of a buy, but there's a market for it, right?
Yeah.
So I guess I just look at it like, well, a certain percentage of people are the Lexus. They want the best of the best. And Sony's like, well, we want to take their money too, right?
Right.
So do I want it? No. Will I be interested in it when it arrives? Probably. Mm-hmm. Do I think it has a big impact on games? No, I don't.
No.
I'm the type of person that, like, in the last rumor, they said it's not with Blizzard survival game. They say it's not super graphically intensive. It looks very Overwatchy. I want all games to be low graphical. I don't want Resident Evil 4s. I want Overwatchy type games, right? I want like low poly, characters that have you can interact with them high.
Right.
So if this is like, okay, you're gonna play at 120 FPS on a lot of games, I don't care about that. 60's fine.
Yeah.
Now, granted, I guess too. Also, if a lot of games are like, oh no, we're gonna have to drop you down to 30 FPS on these premier titles, and then they're like, oh, or you can buy the Lexus and play it at 60 FPS. Then I'm like, oh darn it, I gotta do it.
Yeah,
right?
that's probably what we're gonna see.
I hope not. I hope you're wrong.
Well, yeah. I mean, it just depends. There's always that argument of like the Xbox Series S is holding back gaming, right? That's been a thing since one developer who had nothing to do with optimization for consoles, had everything to do with making backgrounds in games. Said that, and that's been an argument. But all consoles are holding back games. that's just the rule of thumb. If you're making a game and you're making it, you can make it for PC and you can make it as beautiful as you want because somebody out there has the hardware to run it at that. On console, you have to make it optimized for that title. Yeah. I mean, I'm sorry, that console. That right. So it's it's not. It's a limitation of having to make a game for almost everything.
Yeah.
If you have the lowest common denominator, which is not the Series S, by the way, if it comes out on PC, if you look at the requirements for most games now, their minimum requirement is lower than what a Series S is. Because this is how they do it. They look at, they take the graphical settings in their PC version,
right?
And if you go from low, medium, high to ultra, high, that's where a Series X lands. Boom, lock it. Okay, 60 frames per second at high, done. Get it out the door. The S, it hits at medium. And then we take off a couple of things here and there. It's still 60 FPS. Good, got it. All right, it's out the door. That's how it's done. PS5 is the same way. You hit it to a certain mark, you nail it at 60, and you get it out the door. On PC, it's whatever you want to do. They take the lowest common denominator. They define that as playable, and you can go up from there. So there's really no reason to think that the Series S is holding back gaming.
Well, then let me bounce this back at you then.
Right.
What is the downside of a PS5 Pro coming out next year? What's the downside? What's the main?
I think the downside is that right now, where we are in 2023, we're just now getting to where PS5 is in stores.
Right.
As far as the numbers, they're selling the crap out of them. I mean, they sold like 30 million. Is that so far, or is that just this year? Seems like that was like holiday.
No,
I
think it's total.
Right, total. Okay.
Yeah.
So they've got 30 million. So they are still selling. If they're still selling, then why have one? If you're just now getting that product in the hands of the people that want them, and then the next year you say, "Oh, here's a better one,"
Right.
I don't think that is a good move economically, and I don't think it's a good move for the people that it's not good for your customers to introduce something new right when they are, when your last product is just available.
What if I had an analogy for you? What if it's like, I don't know, you're playing a game. Let's say the game's called Diablo, and you have an item that's a pretty good item, right?
Right.
And you're using the item for a extended period of time, and then off in the distance, there's an even better item. It's got slightly better numbers.
Yeah.
So isn't it a little bit like the same? It's like you are a Diablo player. You love Diablo because you want those numbers to go up.
Yeah.
And then all PlayStation's doing is they're saying, "Oh, we're targeting, hardware Diablo people."
Well, yeah,
right?
I'm not saying there's somebody that's not going to just ditch their PS5 and go buy that immediately, right? Or trade it in, or I was that person. If playing on Xbox, if they had, here's a new one, I'm like, I'm sign me up. I want the new one. You get to a point where if gaming is what you enjoy doing, then you want the best possible experience of that gaming, right? Mm-hmm. You want the best sound. You want the best visuals. You want the best everything. Everything that you could possibly afford. You can, the sky's the limit, actually. But so there are people that are like that, but that's not, I don't think that that's the majority. I think the majority of people are just like, hey, I got a PS5, I'm cool. Oh, look, here's a PS5 Pro. I got a PS5. I'm good.
Right.
I think it would be too early in 2024 to introduce that. Maybe 2025. But
so are you saying it from the perspective of Sony? Like this is not a smart gamble from Sony?
I don't think it would be.
Or are you looking at the person who just bought a PS5 and you're like, well, you're going to hurt their feelings because they just bought a PS5?
No, I don't think the market's ready. You just got a product out where it's readily available.
Yeah.
You don't introduce another one, at the end of that year for the next year, right?
Yeah.
These aren't cars. There's not one that comes out every year, So
no, but I think what Sony's doing is like no, they are like cars. Like we're still going to sell a certain percentage of PS5s, and we're gonna target a different customer with the PS5 Pro. Mm-hmm. Like I think what they see is like we're going to be able to get a higher profit margin on that PS5 Pro because you're targeting the customer who's willing to spend like top dollar for a slightly better product, right?
Yeah, I just think they would sell more if they waited a little longer.
If they waited, okay,
yeah.
I see what you're saying. Yeah.
I think that it's like anybody that wants a PS5. The PS5 Pro technically does not exist right now. So if you want a PS5, you can get one now. I see them all the time. They're at Walmart, they're at Target. I mean, I could go right now and go buy one. That's not been a thing till right now. I mean, for Xbox or Sony. So when that's, if you look at it like these things have been available since 2020, perfect. 2024 is probably the prime. 4 years later, it's probably perfect. But we're not looking at that way. We're looking at it as, when were these things in stores to where you can actually buy them at retail price and not have some pay some scalper $1,300 for it.
Yeah. No, you could absolutely be right. But and again, my mind goes to doesn't Apple do iPhones and iPhone Pluses now?
Mm-hmm.
Like they have a super high-end iPhone.
Oh yeah,
That
but they
probably
released those at the same time. Like here's 14.
Yeah.
Here's 14 Pro. Now they might have a
Right.
14. Usually, I think they go down like a side, like the 14 small, or I don't know, something like that.
Yeah.
So their mid is usually not better. It's usually like smaller.
Yeah.
Like PlayStation, before has made a slim version. Like here's the PS5 or PS4 or PS3.
Yeah.
And like, oh,
Yeah.
here's an updated version of that. Now, I would wager that this PS5 Pro, rumor-wise, is not actually a Pro. I think it may be a redesigned PS5, smaller,
Okay.
cooler, without a disk drive, and then the disk drive that can be sold separately.
Okay.
That's what I think this actually is, and that would be fine. And launching next year and Christmas, have it readily available. The newer version. And even I might consider, getting one, because I just don't want a PS5 that takes up, half my desk.
Right.
So,
Well, and there's no must-play games right now, I feel like.
no, I don't think. And especially if they're coming to PC, if they continue to come to PC, I don't know if there's a reason for me to get a PS5.
Yeah. That's a good point. I guess I look at it like, what is really gonna matter for PlayStation going forward the next 5 to 10 years? And in my opinion, if this is a gamble that doesn't pan out, it's not a crippling gamble. It's just like, we're a little disappointed in that, right?
Yeah, they need to have a strategy that takes them outside of this. You have to have this console.
I know it has to be like what they should do is make 12 plus live service games.
Well, yeah, but they're seeing
revenue.
Yeah, they're seeing that mistake now, and that's what they're working on. I think every one of their studios is making some type of live service game, because these, over budget single player, one and done is not, it's not sustainable.
Yeah.
You can sell 10 million copies of those, but how many copies of God of War Ragnarok did they sell? Like 11 million. So that's 1 million above what they probably projected to break even.
Yeah.
So it's a success. It's great. It's got a lot of awards, but if it's not making the money, it doesn't matter.
Right.
So
no, I think that's a good topic. I guess we'll see. It does, like you said, it does seem like Tom Henderson seems to be right.
Yeah.
The vast majority of the time.
But this guy's thinking it's going to be a slim. I'm just going to put that
Well,
out
isn't he
there.
he's saying all different types of things? Like is he saying there's a slim?
Well,
he's saying
at
there's
first
like
they were saying that they were making a diskless version. Like the newer ones coming out are just not going to have a disk drive. And then the disk drive was going to be optional.
Right.
Which I
like
think,
right now there's a PS5 with no disk drive. I have that one, but you can't slide a disk drive into it.
Right. This one you'll be able to maybe attach it to that one or not. I don't know.
And I think what I think is going to happen is they're going to discontinue the current PS5s, and that's going to be their main PS5. I'm assuming that's what's going to happen.
Yeah, I would think that would be the refresh.
Right.
And it will probably be a little smaller. Hopefully, I don't think that the PS5 it needs to be redesigned to be cooler without it being 3 feet tall.
Right. No, I'm with you there.
Yeah, they can do that now, I'm sure.
Yeah. All right. So that was a solid talk. I guess I'm gonna add mine. My amorphous blob topic is a small topic, but I wanted to ask you, Scott. Scott, I used to love SNL as a kid.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
Did you like SNL?
Oh,
Were you a Mad TV guy?
No, SNL.
Yeah, I was an SNL guy. I liked Will Ferrell. I was the perfect age for Will Ferrell's height. So, when he's at the peak in SNL there.
Right.
But now I watch SNL now, and it does nothing for me. It's like, I don't know what's going through my brain. But while I'm watching current day SNL, and I don't watch it, but every once in a while I'll click on it with YouTube. And I'm like, oh, okay, this isn't funny. But maybe I'm just getting older, and maybe as you get older, you just don't laugh anymore. Maybe
I
it,
could
it
see
would be
that.
funny if you're 14,
Yeah.
right? So that kind of depressed me. But I'm gonna recommend someone on YouTube. Some kid with a cell phone is making amazing content.
Yeah.
Um, a couple of days ago, I'm watching. You know how YouTube feeds you stuff, and you mindlessly clicking it. I'm
Right.
literally laughing, and my stomach is hurting.
Yeah.
Now, part of comedy is like you got to be surprised with the humor, so don't set your expectations that high. There's
Right.
a kid called Jaden Williams. He's this little, he's probably a 20-year-old kid. Looks like he has one smartphone and he plays all the characters in his little skits.
Hmm.
All the videos are like 30 seconds to a minute long, and I'm like, I don't understand how this one kid can out funny the entire SNL production.
Yeah. That's why nobody watches SNL. It's um I watched I just yesterday I like the first day and ever I didn't have anything to do. So I caught
Yeah,
up on The Mandalorian, which I
yeah,
haven't watched any of the new seasons. So and that and The Bad Batch. I'm a huge Star Wars fan,
okay,
let it be known. Uh and it was entertaining. It was good. I enjoyed both of those. But it
hmm,
just reminded me that it's like how little of TV, like production TV, that I watch, and
yeah,
how much YouTube that I watch, and how much entertainment that I get out of watching just people like me and you that just
super small,
make, yeah, that just make content
yeah.
of stuff that is just super entertaining and super witty and smart and um, it just blows my mind
Yeah,
how
I'm
much
going to
is
tell
out
you
there.
something.
Yeah,
I think I already told you this before, but back when 2017, 2018, when Fortnite was getting big, what I'd do is I would duo queue with randoms, and you're being fed these like pretty young kids, like 10 years old, 12 years old, whatever.
yeah,
So as long as they have a mic, I'm like, whatever, I'll play. Let's try to get the dub, right?
yeah,
And as you're hiding in bushes with these kids, like setting traps up for players who are unsuspecting, I'll be like, "What's your favorite like movie or like what TV shows do you like?" And they always responded with like a puzzled like, "I watch YouTube."
yeah,
Like I was like amazed. Like they couldn't answer the question, "What's your favorite movie?" They're like, "I have a favorite YouTuber. Do you want me to talk about a YouTuber?" Which I
yeah.
thought that was, yeah,
Yeah. It's a different time. I mean,
yeah,
it's not like when we were kids. It's like
no,
I come from a time where marketing toward kids was ramped up to 100.
hmm,
This is why we never, like my age group, we still like Star Wars.
yeah,
We still like stuff that we grew up with because it's still here. It didn't
right,
go anywhere.
right,
It's just I don't know. But yeah, I agree with it. YouTube it can be really crappy, but it can be very entertaining. There's a guy that it reminds me of what you were describing. Reminds me of a YouTube channel called Noodle.
uh-huh,
And I found his channel because he made a very interesting Halo. He made a video about Halo CE and why
uh-huh,
it's so great.
hmm,
Which I'm like, maybe this guy can, because when people ask me, why does Halo CE so great? I'm like, Doug, it's good. I mean, it's like I
right,
can't articulate exactly what is in my brain. This guy makes the perfect video on why Halo CE why it's so good.
yeah,
And then he makes a separate video on why the anniversary is so crappy.
uh-huh,
And I agree with that wholeheartedly as well.
uh-huh,
So it's almost you're not going to get something that tailored to what you like and your own point of view watching TV. You can't do it
I know,
unless you're like unless you actually work in New York on an SVU unit and you watch
right,
the SVU and it's like yeah I get it yeah that's
right,
me
right,
right there no you can't get anything like that, but you can find somebody on YouTube that that has those point of views or whatever.
right.
And I'll even plug mine a little bit if you want. Scott's review. I do mouse reviews.
Yeah, you have an upcoming one that I'm very interested in. Apparently, it's a dual purpose mouse, or maybe it's just unipurpose.
It's could be unipurpose. Yeah,
Unipurpose.
Yeah, I'm working on that. And the one I just finished another one that has a Western theme. I thought you might like that one. I don't know if you saw that.
Wait, it's a mouse with a Western theme?
No, it's a video with a Western theme. It's a review with a Western theme.
Wait. This is a big talk here. What are you talking about? There's a video, a Western themed video, like Western movies, Western.
It just has a Western flavor.
But what is the topic? What is the topic?
No. It's a mouse review.
Oh, okay.
With a Western flavor to it. Yeah.
Oh, interesting. I'll definitely watch that.
I grew up on, cowboy movies and Clint Eastwood and Lee Van Cleef and stuff like that. So anyway.
Right.
But yeah, it's also a place where if you want to be creative and you want to just do something and just throw it out there and try it, you can.
Right.
So yeah, SNL. Why is that show still on? And I don't know anybody that still like watches it like we used to watch it.
Well,
like you had to watch SNL.
Why.
What?
I first of all, I do think they're getting some viewers. It's probably not as. It's probably at a pretty low point in terms of its popularity. But if you see their YouTube clips, those YouTube clips do actually really good numbers still.
Yeah, because they're quick, and you go to YouTube, and you're on YouTube anyway. So,
right. Yeah. But I think they're getting like a second stream of income. Like I'm assuming that's how they're doing it, right?
Yeah, I'm sure NBC, anything NBC puts on YouTube automatically gets, just a bunch of change.
Yeah.
Mine will probably never be profitable, but we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. All right. Well, I think that's going to do it for the podcast. As we do every week, I always shoot it over to you, Scott, and I always say, how do listeners? Well, what do I tell you, Scott? I say, how do listeners contact us? How do they interact?
Yeah, I think.
Yeah, why don't you tell us?
I think after our conversation, drop something below. If you're watching this, put it down below. Just a comment. Say hi. Anything.
Yeah.
We'll respond to it. And thank. What was his name again?
Caden. Is
Caden?
it Kate? Something. Yeah. Something with a K.
Yeah. We'll remember. We'll actually write it down next time. But yeah, we are on Twitter, the Supply Drop Podcast on Twitter. You can email us, but no, I think we've decided that nobody bothers emailing anybody anymore. We're right here on YouTube.
On YouTube,
you comment below, and we'll say hi.
That's right.
Yeah,
that's right. All right, so I'm gonna say adios, and we'll catch you in the future sometime.
Yes. Bye.
All right. Adios.